So this week is week 5. So now we're in the second half of the class, and we're going to be starting, like the first half is sort of talking about, order of operations and linear equations. And we did a little bit of polynomials. Now we're going further into polynomials. We will be factoring this week. Next week we'll be solving. And then from there we'll start going into some graphing. So we're factoring this week, and this is a very important skill if you have to go on to college algebra, because you'll be doing it every single week in college algebra. So I'm going to start with the specific sections we're looking at this week, the different tasks, the discussion, the assignment, the quiz, and the suggested schedule. So we have 5 sections this week. We're looking at chapter 6. We're going through sections 1 through 5. So you're starting with the greatest common factor and factoring by grouping. So I have a video on the greatest common factor in the classroom already. It's under the live sessions and instructor videos. Then 6.2 is factoring trinomials of the form x squared plus bx plus c. I have a video on that. 6.3 is factoring trinomials trial and error, and 6.4 is factoring trinomials AC method. I generally only use trial and error if it's x squared plus bx plus c. So in 6.2, I generally don't use trial and error if it has a number in front of the x squared term. I use the AC method. So the AC method, I have a video on that, and that is also called the grouping method. So I also go over grouping in that video as well. And then the only section I don't have a video on is 6.5, so that's what I'm going to be doing. Let me double check and make sure I have the right date on the calendar. Okay, I am doing 6.5 Friday at 1 p.m. I have my calendar in front of me right now, making sure that I have that correct. So that is the difference of squares and perfect square trinomials. So I have videos for everything else already in the classroom if you go to the live session and instructor videos link. So what I would recommend doing is watching those videos before you go to the textbook, because that actually might make things make more sense than when you read the textbook. So the big ideas is the greatest common factor, what that is, how you factor it out. We have factoring by grouping, and then factoring trinomials. So those are 2 different types of factoring. And then shortcuts. And shortcuts is 6.5 when I'm doing my live session on Friday. So this week you guys had your midterm last week, so now we're back to a regular quiz. So you have your discussion, your ungraded practice assignment, the assignment, and then a quiz. So let's talk about the discussion. So this is another one where you have to do a little bit of research, and this is sort of like the week 3, but not exactly like the week 3. So it's this week 3, that discussion post was about how you use formulas and equations in your life. This one is not about formulas and equations, but math in general, but it's specific to your job. So, and it's actually more specific towards what your field of study is, what you're currently studying, so that you can see where math is, why are you required to take math, basically. How are you going to use this? So you're going to research what type of math is used in your field of study. Some tip I have is that you check out the course catalog and the information on your degree, because that will help out a lot, because the course catalog actually gives you some ideas. So let me see if I have Blackboard up. Let me just go to GLife. And then the university catalog is this U thing right next to the student handbook. So I'm going to open that up. So I actually just was emailing someone today in health management, health information management, and they said, I don't know how I'm going to use math. So you want to scroll to get to the table of contents, and then you want to find your degree. I'm going to zoom in here. So this student was in health information management. So you want to go to your degree, and then click on that in the catalog, and then it shows you your courses. So for this course, you're required to take college algebra, but you have open electives. So if you're taking 104, which obviously you guys are because you're in this class, you would then go on to college algebra, and you may be wondering, well, why do I have to take this algebra? If you look at the right, anything in parentheses requires that class. So college algebra is required for financial accounting. And that's kind of math that you're going to be doing if you're in health information management, is you're going to be working with financial documents and some accounting, and you need to have some math and some understanding of algebra in order to do that. So that's one of the things where math is useful in your degree, is you're going to be doing some accounting if you're in this particular area. There's also reimbursement methodologies. Well, that's also involving money, so that's going to involve math. Under the student learning outcomes, right here it says apply fundamental systems analysis and design concepts and problem solving strategies. Math is wonderful at teaching problem solving. So that's one way you could be using principles of math, is the problem solving you've learned through solving in math to your job. And then anywhere you see the word analyze, that generally means you're working with numbers. So if you are analyzing something, you're maybe comparing the values. Maybe you're looking at data and you're looking at percentages and you're comparing. So for this discussion, looking at what your degree plan is, what kind of classes are required for a degree, can be helpful in answering this discussion. So going back to the discussion prompt. So it says research what type of math is used in your field of study. So I suggest checking out the course catalog. You can also, if you are already in classes for your degree, you can reach out to your instructor. Like let's say you're in programming, you can ask your programming teacher, you know, how is this math going to be useful later on? You can also reach out to your advisor. Sometimes they have some ideas. And you can even Google, you know, Google health information management and math or something, or, you know, accounting and math, or criminal justice and math. So you're going to be researching to try to figure out, okay, you're taking this class. How is this going to be useful for you? And then find an example of how the math is used. And this is specifically like, what is the purpose for the math? So like for the health information management, I mentioned finances. So or the reimbursement methodology. So you can give an example of how you have to calculate someone's reimbursement and show how that's using math. Any research you do on the internet, make sure you're using the links. And if you're still having trouble, send me an email. I can help you out. Last term, I had someone struggling to find stuff for criminal justice, and I found several great YouTube videos for her that really helped her out to see how math is actually used in criminal justice. I also know the criminal justice professor, and I talked to her, and she said, oh, yes, this is all the places you use math, and she just listed it all off. So I can help you if you're struggling with this. So that's the research part. For your actual discussion post, you want to summarize what you learned. Make sure that you're explaining it like you're sharing with a family member. So it's like you're having a conversation, so don't just copy and paste. You want to share, oh, this is what I learned. You know, use your own words, and make sure you include all those websites. Since for this discussion you're looking forward, you're looking at the course catalog, you're looking at, okay, where are you going forward with your degree? This is a great time to also make sure that you're registered for next term. Next term starts in, let's see, it starts December 4th, 10th, I think, 10th or 11th, which is in a little bit over a month. So this is a good time to make sure you're registered so that you know what classes you have going forward. So I would have a conversation with your SA in addition to asking like, hey, do you know where I might need this math? You can also say, yeah, I want to make sure I'm registered for next term. So it just kind of fits right in because it's that time of year when we're looking at making sure you're all set up for the next term going forward. So do you have any questions on the discussion prompt? And the whole intent here is to find a connection between what you're learning in this class and how it may help you going forward in your degree. That's the purpose here, is to figure out, well, how can I use what I'm learning? How will this be beneficial for me going forward? Okay, well, I don't see any questions. So if you do have questions, of course, you can email me. Moving on to the assignments. So your ungraded practice assignment is from Chapter 6. You don't have to do every problem. So you're skipping problems 6 and 22 and 25, but you can do all the rest up to 26. There are more problems because there's another section to chapter 6 that I think there might be one or two more sections to chapter 6 that we are not covering. So that's the ungraded practice assignment. The assignment, again, is the 2 graded problems, so make sure you're showing your work. Usually people do pretty well with the assignment this week. I just want to give you warning to make sure you're always factoring out the greatest common factor. So make sure you're watching that greatest common factor video and my other factoring videos, and that will help you get the maximum points for this week. And now for the quiz for this week. So the quiz is 20 questions, just like last week's quiz, but there are a lot more short answer questions this time around. So there are 8 short answer. Last time there was only 3. So just be aware, but it is on time, so you can take your time to type it up using the function editor. It's the same FX button that you see when you're in the discussions. You just click that button and then you can type things up. So use that for the quiz, and that will help you get everything formatted properly. The quiz itself is covering the material from this week, so it's going to be covering the greatest common factor, factoring out the greatest common factor, factoring trinomials, and factoring completely. It's not specifically covering the special types of factoring or the shortcuts, because you can do those the long way as well, so you don't have to use the shortcuts as those. So that's what the quiz is covering. And then our suggested schedule. So, okay, this is really tiny, so I'm definitely going to have to zoom in here. This discussion prompt, because you're doing research, I recommend that you take a few days. You can start your research today, do more research on Thursday. I like to recommend that you write your discussion after you've done the research, not at the same time, but like a day afterwards, just to make sure that you're not just copying the words that you just read. Make sure you're checking grammar and that it makes sense and all those sort of things, and you know that you're replying to people. You can do a section a day. So if you start with 6.1, just go through a section a day. There are no specific videos for 6.3, but there are plenty of videos that are linked for all the other sections. But I would make my live session videos the priority. Then I have, these are different practice problems. So these are actually not coming from the chapter 6. These are coming from the particular sections. I think this is actually coming from the chapter 6 review versus the end of chapter test. But about 10 questions. Actually, this one's about 7 questions. So 7 to 10 questions in each section to do a day. So that's not too bad. And then you can, of course, do your assignment in your quiz. I just like to set Tuesdays to make sure you do that and you get everything done. So that's it. So that's what you have to do this week. If you have questions, especially if you have any questions on the discussion or you're struggling, please let me know. Give me a call or email me, and I am happy to help you out with that. I know I have a lot of connections with people, so I'm really good at finding ways that math is useful that you may not have thought about how it might come into play. So yeah, so that's it. Thank you very much for joining me live. So our next live, bringing my calendar up again so I can make sure I'm looking at it. So the next one is Friday, 1 p.m. on section 6.5. And then, the next one for week 6, that will be at 6 p.m. We do have Monday off. Grantham is closed Monday for Veterans Day. So you know, I will not be checking my email or anything on that day, since that is a day off. And for all of you veterans out there, thank you so much for everything you do. I can't even imagine what you've gone through, especially if you've been deployed or you've been in any of the wars. I personally, health-wise, I have a heart condition, so I would not be able to serve. So I appreciate everybody that is able to and willing to do that. It really is a great thing for our country and everything you do. So for those of you that are Veterans Day, we recognize you for Monday. or that are veterans. We recognize you for Monday for Veterans Day. So thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to pop off. Thank you for joining me tonight, and I will talk to you later.